Hey,
Good
Jessica.
morning. Okay.
Already fucked up. Good morning. We just met and are starting this podcast together called,
We just met.
yeah. How did we meet, Jessica?
So we met on a birthright trip through our college. We actually met in the airport at the very beginning and instantly became besties.
Yeah, we did. We were standing in line for like 4.5 hours. And through the torment of that line, we became besties. And the adventure began.
Anyway, so we're on this birthright trip.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't know what birthright is, it's a free trip to Israel from the government. So basically, if you're Jewish, the Israeli government sends you to Israel for free. Pretty much propaganda, but like in disguise.
They want you to
Yeah.
go there and like fall in love with the country and like meet another Israeli and like live there and stay there basically.
And it kind of worked.
Oh, totally. It
Like
worked.
I thought,
We were with like 30. How many other kids were there?
yeah, it's like 25 or 30.
Yeah. And it was by no means a perfect trip, which we'll get into. But at the end of the trip, we were like, this is just like beautiful. Like the country just felt so, it just felt like home.
Yeah, I mean, like our tour guide was saying that like when people come on birthright, they feel like a weird sense of belonging to the country for
Mm-hmm.
like no reason. And I weirdly felt that.
And we traveled all throughout Israel. We started in the north in Tiberias. We then went to Jerusalem, I'm pretty sure,
Um,
for 4 days. We were in the desert, which is called the Negev, and we stayed in tents and climbed mountains. Like, who were we? Sometimes when I think back to that girl, I'm like, who? Ooh. And then we were in Tel Aviv. And then we came home and both of us fell ill to the COVID.
Yep.
But like,
So,
at least we got home.
so I know like a couple people on our trip on the last day tested positive and had to stay in Israel in quarantine. That was almost us.
Yeah. And it was funny actually, because when we were getting tested, we would like stand in line and then we were waiting. And then like the guy had the other people's tests lined up. So like if you like looked over, you could see that other people had tested positive. And I remember I was speaking to him and then all of a sudden I look over and I see like the positive test and I was like, and he goes, shh, no, 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 no. And I was like, those tests are positive. And he was like, don't say anything. And I was like, oh my God. Somebody from America definitely brought it over.
I know, fully. There was this kid on our trip who like started feeling sick on the plane. And I was like,
Clocked.
patient zero.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wait, reminds me, we want to give a quick shout out to our friend Oscar, who flew with us on the flight there. He was our first love. There were many other loves after that, but he was definitely the first.
I know.
And you
We'll
never,
get into the romances.
oh yeah. Okay.
If anyone knows an Oscar,
What?
please let us know. If anyone knows an Oscar, hit us up. We miss him.
We don't even know his last name.
He goes to school in Missouri, right?
He went to Wash U. We basically just went to Israel and didn't plan anything. And they had this like whole itinerary, and every single day we were doing new things. We were meeting people. We were like bonding. And I think we got really lucky with our trip coordinators because like they were young and fun and they didn't have us like doing boring icebreakers the whole time. It was just like genuine bonding, I feel like, for a lot of the trip. And we had some cool people on the trip.
Yeah, I mean, the fun of it is that's like 30 people that you've probably never met before. Unless you like go with your friends, but usually you don't know anyone. So you're
Mm-hmm.
all just like, what the fuck is happening? And like, that's how you bond. Like, that's how you become friends with each other.
Yeah. It's a big what the fuck moment because it's so random. And also, everyone knows that it's like a weird concept. Like, when you're there, you're just kind of like, what are we doing? Like, the first icebreaker, one of like the questions in the icebreaker was like, why are we here? And I remember like turning to like my 3-person group and everyone was like, free trip to Israel. Like, it's not that deep. It's just like, we don't have to spend money. But I think through the experience, we all found something deeper with it. Maybe not, but definitely some deeper moments. And also some messy moments.
Yeah, a lot of messy moments because you don't know these people. Like you're like trying to get to know them as you're like exploring a new country.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, let's just talk about the people. Let's
okay. Okay, let's just dive right.
So you're living with random people for 10 days. You're like sharing rooms, like almost beds even. Your beds are very close together.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like emotions and drama immediately.
Yeah. When you're with them for like 10 days straight and you're doing everything together, you're eating together, you're sleeping together, you're like walking to every location together, you're on the bus together, like every minute. Like, I don't think I was by myself unless I was like taking a shit. And even then, I probably left the door open and was having a conversation with Jess.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, you're just like not alone with your own thoughts. And I think we both reached like a midway point where it took a toll on us and we literally hit rock bottom because we were so overwhelmed and unable to rationalize our emotions. But it was beautiful.
Okay, so we had a couple of close friends that we made on the trip because we do everything together. So like if I have a friend, she's a friend.
Preface, not leave each other's side. There were like little groups that formed. Like,
yeah. I mean, it was like immediately clicky. Not like clicky. People were so friendly outside of like their close friends. But I mean, I think when you're on a trip like this, you like try to find someone to cling on to right away, which is like what we did. So it makes sense. But,
yeah.
Like, and then it's like hard to make friends after that.
We made friends with 2 people, David and Isa. They were great.
They were so sweet. They just felt like family during the trip. They were literally like my parents.
Yeah.
It's good to have them around.
They were just so funny. Like, we loved them.
No, I have like so much respect for them because they came in being like super close friends already and like they were okay like staying like that. Like they still made an effort to like make friends with people. Like they made friends with us, but still were like fine with kind of being isolated and doing their own thing, which I respect. Because I tried like so hard to like be outgoing and make friends, but they were able to just like stay in their lane.
That's such a good point.
Okay, so our first night we stayed in Tiberias, and okay, first we went out to dinner basically on our own. They were like, okay, so part of birthright is like you have to buy yourself 1 meal a day, and then the other 2 are provided. So for dinner that night, they were like, okay, literally, like go find food in the city.
You're like, good luck.
So we did that. Yeah, they were literally like, bye. So we did that. And we went to like this bar because the legal drinking age in Israel is 18. It's just like so weird because like we didn't know any of these people, but we're like in a group with them, like taking shots with them.
But also, it was a bar, and it was completely empty. The only people there were like the 12 of us who had went together from birthright. We were like, is it open? And she was like, we can open it if you want to order something. And we were like, yeah, bet. And so then they like put on strobe lights and started blasting music. And then they set up this like long table in the middle for us. And it was just us in there. And also we had a curfew of 9:30 p.m. So we all took like one drink. We danced like a little bit and then we had to literally run home. So like just as things were starting to get fun, we were like, we have to go. Like we need the checks. And then yeah, we ran home. And that was the first night that we met Josh. I sort of grouped all of the guys, most of the guys together in my mind just because I don't know. I just saw all the guys together. There were like a lot of frat guys from AE Pi, right, on the trip. And like they all knew each other. So they were all always together. And I didn't know who wasn't. And I just assumed that Josh was. But that first night he went to the bar with us and he ended up like talking to us on the way back. And I just like learned that he didn't go to BU and he's a nutrition major and just that he was like a very sweet guy. And
yeah, he's a cutie. Well, we We'll get into him later.
Okay. We'll get really
Dang.
we'll dissect the boy. A frequent thing that we would do is like if we had a night where like things would happen to either of us that like we didn't get a chance to talk about, we would like debrief over breakfast. So like we'd like these like elaborate buffet breakfasts at these hotels, and we would like meet and go down for breakfast and then like sit together and just debrief about the night. And then we would continue on with the day, but the debrief was essential.
No, it's important. I feel like a lot of stuff would just like randomly happen.
Yeah. 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 Did anything else significant happen that first night? I don't think so.
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of?
No, not that I know of.
You have something to tell me? But so that was that night. Yeah. The next day we went rafting and everybody was in their bikinis, and it was
rough. It was like the first time that like anyone was gonna be seeing like basically naked.
We had all just met and then we were all naked.
Yeah.
And they like rounded us up in groups of 5 and they just like put us on the Jordan River and they said go.
Literally.
Remember the first like minute we all like were smashing into like the sides and like trees. I got like a huge branch just like scraped across my face, and I remember thinking like I'm gonna die on this river, and like I'm not gonna be able to sue Taglit because I literally signed my life away.
I know, that was like gross. It was like really fun, but we went on a hike that morning too, so we were like super sweaty and dirty.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, put on your bathing suit and get in the water.
That hike was also like a huge issue essentially because we were right behind a group of like 12-year-old kids. How do I explain this? You have to climb down the mountain.
A cliff.
Yeah, we were descending a cliff using like metal rods, descending. And the kids were so scared that they were like sobbing, like they were crying. And so like each kid had to be like emotionally and physically supported down the hill one by one. So it took us like an hour and a half of like waiting at like the midpoint of our hike to get down this hill.
That was a lot. And it was like our first activity too. So like, oh great, like we're gonna be doing for the next 10 days.
Yeah. By that point, we were no stranger to lines. Taglit. Oh. But I was like, wow, the whole trip is literally going to be us like waiting for things to happen.
Kind of, yeah.
Basically. Like waiting in Israel is literally the tagline for Taglit.
Honestly, like day like 2 through like 9 just like completely blended together. Like I remember the very first day and the last day.
Yeah. You mean like you don't remember?
It went by so fast.
The trip?
Yeah, I can't differentiate each day.
I know. That's very true. We slept very little on this trip. The one time I did try to sleep. Just to be like, what are you doing?
I could be left alone.
And I was like, please, Mama. I'm so tired.
Okay. Taglit romances. Here's the thing. This kind of goes for all of life, not just Taglit, but mostly Taglit. Like you sometimes can't differentiate like platonic versus romantic feelings, especially when you know that you're not going to see someone after 10 days. Like, let's say I was falling for someone on the trip. I was in love. It's because I'm not going to see them again, so I know I need to like rush these feelings. And I have to start falling in love. So like, I never knew if I actually like someone or if I just want to be friends with them.
Yeah, the setting and the environment is just all intense in general. So like the feelings are just intense.
So true. Everyone's emotions are like cranked up.
Crazy. Yeah. And you're on a time limit, like you said. So it's like now or never, basically.
Birthright is not the place to fall in love. It's really not.
I know, but things happen.
Like I'm telling everyone in my group this right now. You shouldn't have fallen in love. To all the couples that got together, mistake.
You think that was love?
Actually, okay. Almost everyone that got together, like they don't go to the same colleges. they're never even gonna see each other again.
That's true. That's very true.
The point for them. They were very much like, let's come and go.
Yeah. I don't know. How did you feel when you were going on the trip? We were like, I'm ready to find someone.
I mean, I definitely wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna fall in love, but I kind of like maybe expected like a potential hookup if it was like the right time, if I like found the right person.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, also like just the time crunch was such a huge like factor, and I feel like there was a lot of pressure from people to like do something or like to at least kiss someone on the trip.
That's
like
true.
Or people keep telling me like, I guess people would just say like, oh, on the last night everyone goes crazy, and like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just so much pressure.
The lines do get kind of fuzzy. Friends,
So
friends. Yeah, definitely for sure. But anyways, so our friend Josh. But yeah, let's talk about Josh. Because I think the night that my family came, you guys like talked a lot or something, right?
Yeah, that was kind of the first night we talked. We were both like, we just played like a jerky game with the group, and then we were like, okay, we need to like keep the party going. So we like went outside and talked. And I feel like you could smell someone really well when you're both drunk.
You bet. What'd you say?
You get to know someone really well when you're both drunk. Okay, here's the thing. Every time we drank at that hotel, I got so drunk because the bartender would always fuck me over. She never gave me the right drink.
It was the bartender's fault. Take accountability for your actions.
Oh god.
But it was funny because like somehow you would always get drunk like in moments where I wasn't with you. So like in between times where I would see you, you'd have like a few more drinks. So I would just see you in the night getting progressively, like every time I'd see you, basically you were a little bit more intoxicated. And it was, dude, do you remember when we went and you needed a break? So I took you upstairs. We were going down the hallway, and so first of all, Jess was like on some shit. So she decides to ding dong ditch a door that we knew like had some of the guys living in it. So like she had like her arm clasped to me the whole time. I was like, bet. And then she goes, I have an idea. And she like unclasped my arm and she ran up to the guy's room and she like banged on it. And then she ran down the hallway, right? And then I'm standing there like an idiot. And like, I think it was Noah or somebody opens the door and they were like, and I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, it's fine. We walk down, like we're like getting down the hallway, and then you go, watch this. And he tried to like cartwheel and essentially like ate shit, fell on your face, tried to get back up, fell again, but this time it was like clunkier. Like it was really embarrassing. Who?
Not just when I did that, the elevator immediately opened and like a group of guys walked out of the elevator. And I tried to run away.
And I remember like by that point I was already like in the room but like looking out and trying to be like, come on, come in. And you were like flailing about, still falling down the hallway. And I remember hearing the elevator, hearing male voices.
Yeah.
I could see them, but I knew they could see you. And I knew you could.
Oh my God.
I remember thinking, I need to get Jess to safety immediately. And then when it happened, yeah, you like ran into the room and then immediately pulled down your pants and started pooping.
No, you missed a few things.
What?
Okay, first of all, when they come out of the elevator and they see me fall, they all go, oh, Jess.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Jess. It's just like this like orchestra of disappointment.
Yes.
And then, second of all, you're forgetting something very important. We're at the door. I can't open it, so I give you my key card, and I like lean up against the door, like with my head on it, and you put the key card in, and the door opens, and I like immediately splat onto the ground because I'm leaned up against the door.
You're so
right. The door opens, and I just fall on the floor, and then we're like, so I'm immediately pooping, and then we get a knock.
We get a noise complaint. Oh my God.
It's the freaking like manager. And he's like, he looks at us and he's like, people are sleeping, and he like does the hand movement.
No, he didn't even say people are sleeping. He puts his head into the room to like see what was going on. And then he goes, please, please. And I was like, I'm sorry. And yeah, you were pooping. And you're so right. I forgot about the moment where you were fully leaning on the door. And as it opened, you tumble into the room. Like you were a gymnast that night. I was both impressed and terrified.
And the next morning, like at the buffet, I'm like hungover, like scooping myself some like hummus onto my plate. So it's the only thing they serve for breakfast apparently. And like the same group of guys walk up to me and they're like, Jess, do you remember last night? And I'm like, oh. I was like, I don't know. And they were like, okay. And they like pat my shoulder. And I'm like,
moving on.
Let's keep talking about our nights out. I feel like those are the best. Okay, the night at the Shuk in Jerusalem.
Crazy because yeah, most of the nights out, me and Jess like weren't together. Like we would be just on different vibes and doing different things. Yeah. It was kind of the best because we would come back at the end of the night and have so much to talk about because like we had just such different nights. But yeah, let's talk about the night at the Shuk, which is basically like this place in Jerusalem where like a lot of Israelis go out, but that night it had basically been like booked out for like all of the birthright groups in the world to come. So there was just
literally
basically a shit ton of Americans who were there to like party it up. And the vibe felt like a big bar mitzvah. Like they were playing Jason Derulo and Lady Gaga and everyone was drunk and it was interesting.
It's insane. So it's basically like a market, and that night it turns into like bars. So the bars are like popping off. It's like impossible to like get a drink. You're like yelling at the bartender. I was like, 2 shots. It was like, so yeah, it's like a bunch of like mini bars in a market, and like just these fucking like weird ass Americans like going crazy in the aisles of the market. Pretty much, they're like everyone's like dancing on tables. Everyone's super like drunk, just like making out. It felt like a frat party, but like in light, if that makes sense.
It's exactly what it felt like. We were like in the basement of Israel.
So
we were partying it up in Israel's basement. Like it was like hot, sweaty, crowded, bombing, and it felt just like how at a frat party, like you go downstairs and you have that vibe, and then you go upstairs to like breathe and like socialize. So like my vibe was the upstairs vibe of the frat house. So like I would like leave like the inner portion, and like me and a few other people, we would like be on the outsides, which had like pizza and candy and like some restaurants and bar type feels.
A lot of people really express their true feelings for other people that night. I saw some making out, some serious making out going on. Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see who's drawn to like each other when they're drunk, you know?
Yeah, because we all spend the whole trip like making predictions, and then when it happens, you're like, oh.
You're like, oh. Should we just talk about Josh? Should we go into it?
Yes.
Hey, he is so special. First preconceived notion was definitely a bit harsh. I was like, okay, he's like probably like in a frat, like he's so like muscly, plays rugby, the whole thing. So I was like, I'm just like gonna avoid him like I do with all men in my life. Then I got to know him, and he's really sweet. This one night in the desert, we're staying in a kibbutz. We've hit rock bottom, Tali and I. We're going through it.
Yep.
And Josh and I just talk till 12 a.m. 12 a.m. And it's beautiful. We just like spill about our lives.
So that night, me and Jess decided to like take a walk after dinner by ourselves. And we basically like sat overlooking this incredible view, and we watched the sunset. And then we were like quiet for like an hour, and we were just like watching the stars. And it was a very spiritual, necessary experience. Both of us had just been like silent for the first time in this whole trip. And then at the end of the night when it was like dark, I wanted to stay and talk to my friend Jonas for a little bit. And so then that gave Jess and Josh time to just like chat about everything. And you were just really honest with him, right? About like what you were feeling.
Yeah. So basically, Josh and I were like, okay, let's go like talk somewhere else. Let's debrief, or as he would say, decompose. As he told me. King.
I love that.
So we're like, okay, let's go sit somewhere else. So we go sit kind of like in the table where it's like the middle of where all of our rooms are. So people see us sitting there and they're like, wow, let's join them, which was so nice of them. Just kidding, love them. It's not like the whole group is sitting with us when we just kind of wanted to be alone. So we're like talking with everyone, just like making conversation. And then we both look at each other and we're like, let's dib. So we just kind of go and do our own thing and like sit and talk for 4 hours. And it's great. And I feel like that's how you know you have a really good friend. You can just kind of like talk about life in the middle of the night, in the middle of the desert, which like really helped. Because sometimes you just need to like listen and like hear someone out before like jumping to a conclusion or like assuming what they're actually thinking. So
definitely,
he made a big impact on my life. I'm gonna be honest.
Really
like, because I expect men to have like 3 thoughts maximum. He had like at least 4.
He had like 4.5.
Yeah.
Genuinely all the people that we met were great, interesting people. I just like at the end of the trip, like we were all saying goodbye to each other. And you could just tell there was like a lot of love in the air. Like everyone was like hugging each other, genuinely making plans to like see each other again. Like I would hang out with everyone again. Oh, we should give a shout out to David.
Dang, I hope he's listening.
David was the medic that replaced the first medic, Daniel. David was Israeli, super fun guy. He asked us if we were dating
a few times.
Full time.
Quite a few times.
Take no for an answer, basically.
Yeah.
But like
convinced.
But he just had a lot of interesting hot takes, and he was very insistent that our group was a serious group. Like he said that compared to his other Taglit groups, we just like had like deeper conversations and were like taking things very seriously. And Jess was scared of him.
A little bit. I mean, they carried a gun.
Yeah, but like every time he'd come near her, she'd be like,
I can't help it. He just freaks me out. But I loved him at the same time. Like he was so sweet and like definitely took care of us.
He did.
On the bus, I was talking with David and Issa. I think he was like sleeping. He came up to us to talk, and Issa was like, what meds do you think we all take? Because we all take like a different med for like a mental illness. And he looks at me first and he goes, antidepressants. I was like, yes. You're like, yeah, you're right.
That's true. He was
no.
So he knew you were on antidepressants. He also, I had like a massive hurt from a burn that I got from like an arts and crafts thing that we did, and he like popped it beautifully. Like so, and then he also identified like a huge booger in Jess's nose. So he was like medically sound. Like he was doing on all fronts. So we're proud of him. He did his job. And he also did a few things that were not part of his job, but we can talk about that when he's on the podcast.
We'll address that later.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like blanking on so many places we went.
Oh my god, in the desert, and like basically we stayed in like a Bedouin like camp. It was like a little city. It was so freaky. It was cool though. But we stayed in like these tents. It's just like 2 pieces of fabric. So like the sides are open. It's like there's no privacy. We're all like staying in the same tent. It's like girls and boys. And like people were horny, I guess. But, like,
wait, what are you getting at?
Shout out the people that went off and did some little fun stuff in the middle of the desert.
Who? Oh,
Yeah.
so true.
Like I get it, but like save it for the next night when we're in a hotel.
Honestly, I say what happens in the negative stays in the negative.
No, yes. I can't even describe how deserty this desert was. It's just like flat with
So
rocks on the ground.
yes.
Like it's like pitch black, middle of the night. People are going off, having some fun with each other. I respect the grind, honestly.
We were all tapping into our like primal instincts in the
Yeah, that's true.
that's what prompted our like a very like emotional stargazing meditation. Also what prompted like the tears, and for some people it prompted sex, and I don't know.
It's different for everyone.
No matter how you process it, it's beautiful. My favorite part was teaching Jess Hebrew for her to not be able to retain a single word.
How do you, hard ass language?
How do you say baby?
Tinoke.
Yes. We are getting somewhere, kids.
I just really liked like the conversations I had with like random people at random times. I feel like I made such special friendships, and I'm probably not going to have these people again, but like that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of Taglit.
I completely agree with that. Like all of the random conversations that come from just walking from one point to the other, and you just happened like next to somebody. And like I remember I was walking somewhere, and then Max was next to me, and he and I ended up talking for like 30 minutes just about like music and like wanting to be artists, and just some good people. I also really, really liked, my favorite thing was like the painting day. I just thought that was such a good, it's just like one good thing out there.
Insert photos.
All the photos. Literally the photo of me looking at you like so lovingly as you're explaining your painting. But yeah, this has been our first podcast episode.
We just met. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We love you. Bye.
Bye.